Hello, welcome back to the Divided We Fall podcast. I'm Jake Stratton.
I'm Greg.
And I'm Lindsay.
And today we're going to be extending our topic from last week about school and school unions. Greg, take it away.
To start off, Governor Tom Wolf is trying to propose a sweeping tax plan that would widely increase the funding for public schools that aren't open by increasing Pennsylvania taxpayers' personal income tax rates. This would also expand some exemptions for low-wage workers, but there are a lot of people in the Pennsylvania legislature right now that is not too happy with this plan. They released some details to the Associated Press. They want to increase about 50% more income, generate 50% more income than they did in the past year, which is a pretty large tax increase if you think about it. Not just that, school unions and teachers are still saying we refuse to open up schools. We refuse to go back all across Pennsylvania until they get vaccinated. That's what teachers unions are saying. And Governor Wolf has actually put them lower on the priority list despite this. They put grocery store workers, prison guards, police, frontline workers, right. Things like that, and people above the age of 65 ahead of schools and teachers and students. The teachers' unions are now debating and pleading with Wolf, saying this is a frontline job, this is an essential work, we need vaccines. Wolf, however, has not heard this and really done much. He's been kind of radio silent in relation to that. Looking at the CDC guidelines for reopening schools, nowhere in it states that teachers or students need to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
They basically lay out that you need to have proper mask wearing, physical distancing, constant hand washing, different types. The general drill for a business to be open is what they're now having for public schools. Yet the teachers' unions are the main combatant keeping schools closed.
Yeah, my school in high school, the teachers have come back and they're doing pretty much what Greg just described. They're doing proper distancing, proper mask wearing, proper sanitization after every period, and they wipe down the desks, they spray the desks, they ask the kids to actually wipe them down because that's where they were sitting. But I haven't heard anything from my teachers about I hate my job, I want to go back home and work from home. But that's what I hear about these other schools and teachers unions that don't want to go back to school pretty much. They think that they can just keep out long enough working from home.
So part of the major problem with this is, as we touched on before, is the mental health aspect behind online schooling and this forced, in a way, desocialization of our kids. This is an incredibly important period in development for students. They not just are learning how to, be a proper student when they're in elementary school, but they're also learning social skills. They're learning how to be leaders. They're learning how to be followers. They're learning how to interact in a social setting.
We're learning what to follow, what not to follow.
Yeah. Here are some statistics done by an organization called PAYS, P-A-Y-S. It does surveys in 6th, 8th, 10th, and 12th grade. In Bucks County, they received about a 75% response rate. And across the county of across Bucks County, about 12.5% of all students surveyed expressed that they have performed self-harm.
Oh my god.
This was in 2019. In addition, this number is up from 2017, which was 11.7. Still in 2019, 34% of students said they feel depressed or sad most days. This was up from 33.5% in 2017. 21.8% said they feel that life is not worth living. Now this is technically down from 22.1%.
Right.
But that's still 21.8% of students believe that life is not worth living. 32.8% of students say they are no good at all. This is up from 32.4%. And 20.6% of students feel that they are a failure. And this is up a substantial jump from 18.4%. And a lot of people in these teachers' unions, and actually a couple at a school board in Bucks County, believes that there are, quote, bigger fish to fry when it comes to reopening schools. They believe that there are more pressing matters to deal with
than kids' mental health. Lindsay, do you have anything to say on this?
I do. So, Greg, you said that it doesn't say anywhere that the teachers should be vaccinated, and you're right. But at the bottom of the operational strategy for the schools thing, in the gray box, it says that teachers should consider being given high priority in terms of early phases of vaccine distribution. So what I'm not understanding is why Tom Wolf is pushing them back when the CDC is literally saying, listen, these people are high priority, you need to vaccinate them. So in a way, he may think he's helping people, but he's actually just going against what the CDC and science is saying. And I believe there is little to no evidence that coronavirus will spread rapidly in schools. I think they did a few studies on that, but the only kind of study they haven't done on that is in states with high infection rates. But PA doesn't have super high infection rates compared to other states.
And our infection rates are going down, actually.
Yeah. Finally, what I don't understand is why does he want to increase taxes when Biden proposed adding an additional $130 billion in federal money? If that passes, then why would we need that extra tax money?
This actually kind of doubles back, and I know some of your questions might have been more to the ether, but this kind of goes back to our Rachel Levin episode, where I think this is just Governor Wolf playing politics. Yeah. This is him kind of showing his hand, trying to be oh, I'm trying to be the nice guy. I'm trying to pay for schools, but Pennsylvania has been seriously hurt economically due to the shutdown. When Governor Wolf shut down all of these businesses, they lost that income, that revenue, from taxing those businesses because they weren't making any money. They were closed. So Pennsylvania is kind of hemorrhaging their money right now. They need money, and I think this is Governor Wolf's way of saying, look, we're going to increase taxes to help schools, but in reality we're going to increase taxes to help me pay for the mess I made myself get into.
And rebuild my cabinet business.
And rebuild his cabinet business. Yes, because dark money is everywhere. But yeah, I mean, I honestly believe that Governor Wolf is only pushing back teachers' priorities to keep schools closed so that it only continues to hurt Pennsylvanians. There was no reason for him to shut down a local grocery store but keep open Acme.
Right.
There was no reason for him to shut down a local convenience store, ran by a mom and pop. Over, if you look in New Hope, a lot of those businesses were shut, but you have Wawa and 7-Eleven still open. Yeah. Why were those businesses forced to close, but these corporations allowed to stay open? Because Governor Wolf was playing politics. He wanted to hurt the economy in Pennsylvania, and I believe this. Now, this is an opinion. I believe that Governor Wolf wanted to close the economy to hurt President Trump's re-election bid. Now, did I fully support President Trump in 2020? No. But I do believe that Governor Wolf may decide to play politics to hurt the president's re-election chance.
Yeah, and then he doesn't want to get Cuomo'd and then double back on what he said and then get a whole scandal around him.
Oh, Cuomo's a whole new episode in and of itself.
Oh, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course.
what I really, really, really don't understand is that Biden wants to reopen schools, and he's actually following the science. He's saying, listen, guys, it is safe. It is okay. As long as we're doing these mitigation efforts, all the kids are wearing masks, social distancing, cleaning, teachers get vaccinated. And Tom Wolfe is just like, no, Hart. Like, he just won't do it. Like, just follow the goddamn science. It's not that hard.
Like, I know, like, usual high school kids, they're shitheads. They don't like to follow the rules. But I know, and I've seen it because I went in for a couple days. These kids are actually kind of scared of the virus, so they will follow all or most guidelines if they go in. These kids are willing to put on masks, put on face guards, put on other things, do what needs to be done in order to go into school.
Yeah, and not just that, but it's also the societal pressure that's being put on them by the other kids in the school.
Yeah.
Like, if they all think that everyone should be wearing a mask, and then someone comes in without a mask, they're probably going to give them, like, dirty looks. You know, like, people, same with people in, like, grocery stores. Like, you're going to get dirty looks, or people might say mean things to you, you know? So you're like, well, I guess I better put on this mask, you know? So it's not even about just jokes and all that. Like, you know, at this point, it's kind of normal in society to wear a mask. But I feel like a lot of the stuff around COVID-19 leads into a bigger point and a more larger issue, which is the fact that we don't take being sick in the US as seriously as other places. And, like, you know, like how in Japan and, like, other, like, Asian countries, they'll wear, like, masks whenever they're sick, period.
Right, yeah.
I feel like after COVID, that should become a norm, right? And I feel like a lot of this was caused because of things like that, where people either at school or even at other jobs, they're like, well, I'm sick, but I can't call out because of X, Y, and Z reason, or I can't go in or I have to go in because of X, Y, and Z reason. So I'm going to go in and risk getting other people sick. So hopefully all of this whole debacle is a lesson on that. And hopefully at the end of the day, we can normalize mask wearing when you're sick.
I think
a little
that,
off topic, but.
Yeah, I mean, a little off topic, but I mean, to that point, I kind of think that enters into a dangerous precedent. Mm-hmm. The whole idea of mask wearing instilled by the government. I have never been a proponent or a supporter of the government implementing mask mandates. Now, do I wear my mask when I go to businesses? Of course, because the business requires it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where it should have stopped. The buck should have stopped with business deciding whether or not to wear a mask. I think you get into dangerous territory when the government starts telling you what you can and can't wear for public safety.
Yeah.
It's because I know this is entering into a different topic, but I think it's also kind of important to touch on. What if it becomes a public safety hazard to wear a Make America Great Again hat? And then you're not allowed to wear that because the government deems it a safety hazard, because if you wear it, somebody might punch you. You know what I mean? Now, that might be a radical hypothetical, but I have myself, for a social experiment around my college campus, and some of my friends have done this as well, worn Trump hats, and we have almost gotten punched. Yeah. And our school literally said, you should probably not wear that because you're going to get punched. So I think when we allow the government to start mandating what you can and can't wear for the betterment of society, I think you enter a little bit of like a touchy subject. Yeah. Now that doubling back to the whole school thing, I've met with a couple individuals who are very pro reopening school, one of which is on the school board of a local school here in Bucks County, and one is the chairman of the Republican Party here in one of our townships, and both of them are saying that the problem lies with the teachers' unions. It doesn't lie with Governor Wolf, because the only thing keeping schools from reopening right now is the teachers' unions blocking the school boards and the superintendent from opening schools. Because the school board can say, we vote to open schools, which they have. The superintendents can say, we're opening the school, which he has. Yeah. Teachers' unions say, you're not going into work because I said so teachers can't go into work.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be Wolf's problem just for pushing them back in priority? Because I mean, you said the main concern of the unions is that all the teachers are getting vaccinated, right?
That and the vaccinations, yes. I think that's more of a more recent issue is them calling for a more priority on the list. But if you look at other countries and their rates of infection in public schools, there is no correlation. Now, that might be you're comparing the U.S. to Europe at that point, and you might be like, that might be a little hard to judge because of geography, population density, and things like that. Yeah. But there's no correlation between increased spikes of COVID and opening public schools. If you look in the U.S., most private Catholic schools never closed. Most of them stayed open. And there hasn't really been a link between increased student infection rates among schools, among these private schools either. So if we look at those studies, teachers shouldn't really have much to fear if there's no correlation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say is, like I said before, like, studies are showing that, like, infection rates will increase in schools, but there haven't been any studies done in places with higher infection rates. And, you know, like, the U.S. is one of the highest. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't compare it to Europe, but, like, you know, again, there haven't been enough studies on it yet, so we're not entirely sure yet.
Yeah. Now, depending on, I don't want to speak for Jacob or Lindsay, but personally, I think that these teachers' unions need to kind of grow up a little bit. There are bars, there are businesses, there are small businesses all across the country. My father owns one, who are begging the government now. They went to court over it to reopen businesses. Businesses all across Pennsylvania have protested. They want to go back to work. Mm-hmm. What is different to the teachers' unions? The teachers are getting paid regardless of whether or not they teach in person, online, or not at all. Teachers will be getting paid because that's what was decided between some teachers' unions and their school boards. They get paid. They're going to get paid.
Yeah, and that's what I mean when I said last episode that I see some of my teachers, they just don't care. They hand out the work module, they say, hey, teach yourself, I'm getting paid because I'm high up in the chain in the school board, or whatever they do for the school, and then they leave us to just figure our own stuff out. Some of these teachers just don't even care anymore.
Because this isn't even teaching anymore. This isn't learning. This isn't education. What's happening is students are just kind of thrown into this situation, and they're like, figure it out. Do it. Like like Jacob said, do it. A lot of college students are in that same boat. Teachers are doing pre-recorded lectures. They're not even doing live lectures. Some professors are doing pre-recorded lectures, posting them online and saying, watch it, and do the assignment by Sunday. I'm washing my hands of the situation. That's not teaching. Students aren't learning that way. Well, some students are. I'm not learning that way. I haven't learned anything in the past, 2 semesters.
Yeah, I agree.
Not even your vampire class?
Oh, no, not the vampire class. Well,
you took the vampire class?
I'm actually still in the vampire class. I'm learning. It's fun.
Oh, so now you're learning in the vampire class, but nothing else.
That's the only one I'm paying attention in.
It's weird because I think it was my sophomore year, my science teacher, Greg knows him, I'm not going to name his name. He had to go on leave for 2 weeks because he was having a baby. His wife was having a baby. Not him, that'd be weird. But he had pre-recorded lessons set up for us to watch each day and to take notes and to fill out these questions. And when he came back, he realized that some kids did way better on these assignments than other kids. And when we took a test, he realized that the gap was so large between the kids who got A's and high B's and then people who just failed. Because some kids just can't learn from this kind of way. They just don't know how to watch a video and be like, oh, they need hands-on structure of how to learn things.
Over the past couple summers, I have been an educator for 2 different summer camps. I have taken the role of being a teacher. I lead a class, and I teach science or nature and things like that. And through that experience, I have learned how vastly different 6 to 9-year-olds are. That's the age group I teach. 6 to 9-year-olds, you may think like, oh, they're all just hyper little kids. There are some that are quiet, who just want to sit there and they want to listen. There are some who are quiet and they sit there and they don't want to listen. There are some who are screaming, carrying on, but they really are interested in the lesson and they're super excited, and that's why they're screaming and carrying on. And then there are some that are carrying on and screaming and they don't care about the lesson and they're carrying on because they don't want to listen. You know, there's different students. And there's even more diversity than just those groups that I mentioned.
Everything across the board.
Yeah. And one thing that I had to learn as a young educator and eventually moving on into like running my own classes is I have to then teach these students differently than I would like if I tried to blanket them. I taught my students, now some people say this is irresponsible, I call this respect. I taught my students, I said, if you don't want to listen to me, go over there. Go sit over there a couple feet away and go play. But don't disrupt and don't distract your fellow students. I don't mind if you don't listen to me, but don't disrespect don't disrespect students. Don't talk over me, that's my only thing I ask. If you don't want to listen, go over there, go talk over there, don't talk over me. And the students who went over, and I also gave them the option of like, if you go over there, that means you're not participating in the game that we're doing. Because I would be explaining a game.
Right.
If they didn't want to listen, they didn't get to participate in the game. And some students did not want to participate in the game, and they went over and they talked. Or if we were doing a science experiment, some students did not want to listen to the explanation of the science experiment, like the actual science behind it, but they wanted to participate in the experiment. Now, I'm not going to punish those students for not wanting to sit through the explanation, because they're 6 or 9 years old, the explanation of why water erodes away dirt. But I'm still going to let them participate in the experiment because they're still learning something. They're getting to see. They're visual learners. They're not auditory learners. They're learning through seeing. Yes, the water runs down the mud and it pulls the mud with it. They're learning. They're understanding water systems and things like that. Some students, but every student learns differently. And by doing online learning or by doing just online learning, or by doing only pre-recorded lectures, you are doing a blanket statement saying to all students, this is how I'm teaching, I don't care how you learn, figure it out on your own. I'm a visual learner. I work best. I was in a psychology course at the University of Pittsburgh 2 semesters ago, and my professor would pick on a student out of 400 students. There were 400 students in this class. She would pick one out, and we would do a psychological experiment on them. One of my favorite experiments was they had the student leave. My professor had the student leave, and she said, we're going to get her to come over and pick up the umbrella through positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. So she put down the umbrella. Positive reinforcement is you give. Negative reinforcement means you take away.
Or positive kind of thing.
Well, no, that's
positive
actually
reinforcement. You give something good. Negative reinforcement when you take something bad away.
Yeah. So positive and negative isn't actually bad and good. Punishment and reinforcement is the difference. So
I'd learned nothing in my psych class clearly.
I'm literally a psych major. Don't worry. I will help you.
Lindsay will help me explain this one. So we had her come in, and we would clap as she would get closer to the umbrella, and when she would get away from the umbrella, we would stop clapping and we would sit there in silence. As she got closer to the umbrella, everyone would clap, and when she went and stood next to the umbrella, everyone stood up, clapped, and cheered when she picked up the umbrella. That is how I learned positive and negative reinforcement.
Yeah.
When we did positive and negative punishment, we watched a video on it. We didn't actually go through the process of punishing.
And I'm betting you a lot of kids learned about it way less than any others, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously there were probably some students who were like, I don't even care, I'm not even going to stand up and clap. But
I mean the video.
Oh, well, yeah, there were probably some students who didn't learn from the video. I learned from the video because I'm a visual learner.
Right.
But some of them were some students learn better through just taking notes. And so some lectures she would just have us taking notes, and some lectures she would have an example for us. And for everything, for every lesson she'd have an example. She was probably my favorite professor at the University of Pittsburgh so far, because she took different types of learning teaching strategies and implemented them into their class. She didn't just kind of lecture students. She got students engaged. And I think that's what a lot of teachers now during COVID have kind of forgotten, or at least the teachers unions have kind of forgotten, is that students need to be engaged when you're teaching them.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me saying, I mean, I feel like teachers have definitely become less motivated, but at the same time, like, you know how you were talking earlier about, like, mental health issues with the kids?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, to a degree, the same would go for the teachers as well. And again, that's why I'm so strong about getting them vaccinated. As soon as they're vaccinated, they got no more excuses to not go back, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like they're struggling just as much. Like, I had a teacher last semester. It was supposed to be a once-a-week night class on Thursdays, I think. I don't know. It was a psych class. And this teacher, she was like, 25, 26. She didn't even show up to half the classes, and she would just say sorry and then send us videos to watch, right? And near the end of the semester, she came into the class and she was like, guys, listen, I'm really sorry that I had to cancel class so many times this semester. Like, I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you guys. I have been depressed for a long time now. My dad died of COVID, and I just have not had the motivation to keep going with the classes. I've been trying my hardest, but I'm sorry that I had to cancel so much on you guys. She almost started crying. So I feel like the main issue is with mental health is the same for the teachers. And I feel like, on the one hand, they should be criticized because they're actually being paid to, like, teach us. So they should be putting in the same effort they would in person. But on the other hand, we do have to acknowledge that they're also struggling with depression. They're also struggling with isolation. So the faster we roll out these vaccines, the faster we can help everybody with this mental health crisis.
Yeah, and I mean that's 100% true. And like you said, I was going to add to that, but you already said it. They are getting paid to be there. Now, I know a lot of students don't want to go to school, and this might be the dream of some students, is they don't have to go to school. If they don't wake up in the morning, can't get detention, can I?
Whoops.
But at the same time, teachers are getting paid to be there. They do have an incentive to be there. And the fact that students want to go back to school more so than teachers is... Some teachers. More so than even, like, the teachers' unions. Because, like, I understand teachers' unions are meant to, back up the teachers. They're supposed to protect the teachers. However, the only thing these teachers' unions are doing now is they're no longer just protecting teachers. Is they are now putting students into a very difficult position. And they're also putting teachers into a very difficult position. These teachers' unions have gotten too bloated and too used to running the show for too long. And I think it is important for teachers to be safe. I think it is important for teachers, if they want to be vaccinated, to get vaccinated. Yeah. I think it's important for teachers' unions to support the teachers, obviously. But I think it's irresponsible what they're doing. I think, and now I'm not saying teachers need to bite the bullet and go in and get COVID. But teachers need to start kind of taking a bit of the responsibility, because they are adults. They are adults. Everyone does suffer with mental health, yes, but they are adults. And they need to be the adults in this situation. Students need something, and they need to give it to them. The only people who can give these students what they need are teachers. And what these students need is a good education and social interaction. And by opening schools is the only way that's going to happen. Now, this is where I will plug, send your kids to private school. I think
That's expensive.
It is expensive, yes.
Gregory, that is expensive.
It's expensive, but if you want your kid to go to school. Governor Northam closed schools. Governor of California closed schools. He closed them. It wasn't like just like teachers' unions fighting anymore. It's the governor closed the schools and said, you're not allowed to open up schools. And his kid's private school is still open. He's still sending his kid to his private school still today. He got caught at a restaurant. Governor Northam doesn't care. Governor Wolf doesn't care either. He was out protesting in the streets when he was calling up protesters unpatriotic. Not about the January 6th. This was months ago, back in April. He was calling protesters outside the Capitol of Harrisburg unpatriotic and spiteful. But then the next month he was protesting himself. These governors don't care. They really don't.
Greg,
these government officials don't care. They'll it's what is it? What's the saying? It's like, preach for thee, but not me, or something like that.
They don't practice what they preach.
Yeah, they don't practice what they preach.
What were you gonna say, Lindsay?
All I'm gonna say is this is why I'm a borderline communist, Greg.
And this is why I am a borderline anarchist.
I hate rich people, Greg. You have no idea.
I just hate the government, and government makes people rich.
Yeah, it's rich people that go into the government, and then they control the rich.
What if we just had an anarcho-commune?
Have you seen that one chart, Greg, where it's like the wealth disparity today in the U.S. versus the wealth disparity right before the French Revolution?
No.
Oh my God. Oh, our wealth disparity is even more than the French Revolution, so we might as well just say fuck it.
Just leave la revolution to the guillotine with all the government.
Redistribute the wealth, Greg. Redistribute the wealth to the people.
On that note, I think this episode's entering a bit of a longer one. I'm not 100% sure.
We ranted a bit, but that's okay.
We kind of got off topic a little bit, but we were having fun. I'd like to thank everybody again for tuning in.
Check out the Facebook, check out the TikTok.
Yeah, check out all that stuff. We're trying to do updates on TikTok as well every week. And Facebook, we do updates as stuff comes out. Again, huge thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Adios.